Hello, my name is Sagno Elie, surgeon, dentist, and writer. I'm here to tell you about my book entitled The Funeral of Guinea's Development, subtitled Guinea. The icon of marbleization arose as part of several tons of observations, which are moreover the observations of almost all of my constituents and African youth. It must be recognized that Africa is doing badly, specifically Guinea. My country is in trouble, and on all levels, too many problems to solve, too many whys to answer, among other things. Why do we have the most dishonest, the most irresponsible executives? The most useless? Why is the current government worse than the previous one for decades? Why do our roads have the shortest lifespans on the planet? Why for the framework and no minister in jail for corruption while we live on an oasis of corruption? And regretted why the ministry to which this police that we have remains deaf and better in the face of police rackets. Why are the motorway taximeters cutting in sections under the silent gaze of the authority? Why throw away computers in full circulation when the person concerned does not suffer from a problem? Why do African youth have this dependency mentality like some of its obsolete leaders? Why does the word minister laugh so well with sinister in Guinea? Why is the person who discovers embezzlement curiously murdered? Why that one? Who wants to bring reforms for peace and transparency in our electoral system is shot and dies from those of his wounds? Why do honorable career executives receive silent treatment in this country? Why is Guinea the birthplace of impunity, injustice, insecurity? Why are we always lagging behind? The list of whys, including vertigo. Why the word forgiveness in Susus Diait, which was already a dilemma in Guinea, has become a trilemma. Why Conakry? Because I'm nervous, stressed, and insolent in circulation. Faced with this execrable situation and the laxity of the authority, the salvation of this country will depend on the speed of our reactivity. I want to talk about the responsiveness of this conscious African youth, this conscious Guinean youth that we have. This is the reason why I was forced to invite myself into this problem by writing this book. The Funeral of Guinea's Development is a long, one satirical pamphlet that speaks of corruption, misgovernance, injustice, civic deficiency, ethical and moral decay in Africa, specifically in Guinea. This book points the finger at our eccentric African leaders. It also speaks of our ministers, whom I would compare to the kings of concealment, and also to opportunistic infections. He also talks about youth especially. Future graduates to orient themselves in job creation, i.e. entrepreneurship. This book defends our customs, our mores, our moral values, most famous chemical reaction of Guinea, the emancipation of men, the SOS in favor of black skin, the decadence of clothing, This book exposes the root causes, feels of Guinea's enormous backwardness. Yes, this pamphlet exposes with sharp and well-sharpened words the irresponsible behavior and the excesses of the African ruling elite, which I do not call elites, but curiosities or African ruling tales. Just one question, and you will think about it. How can you explain the fact that the poorest countries in the world curiously have the richest heads of state on the planet? How can we reconcile these two extremes? Remember this, most African leaders and cases are like malware, devices blocking America's development process. They are also strike destroyers or suppressors. This is why African youth have become skeptical of progress and are fleeing its 85%. Causes of the Chinese puzzle that I call the emergence of Africa. And in time, I think you'll see people say, I have a tooth against such and such person, such and such person. I have several teeth against African executives, specifically Guinean executives that ethics has deserted since Bel UF. The cases of Guineans are people in whom they work as honesty. Civility and compassion have been deactivated. These are people who are formed of an alloy of lies, mediocrity, and wickedness that I call alloy. It occupies me because Guinea has become the esplanade of corruption where the faith of Magdation is permanently held. Let's go back specifically. In Guinea is a deficit country of maps integrate a country where these executives have refused its development and put several nuances on the most important topics for its emergence. Guinea is a country torn apart by ethnicity and regionalism, where all spit on national unity. That is why this country is in this putrasda. Guineans suffer privately and publicly and have been relegated for several years to the role of suffering. A people whose daily life has always been an absurdity and the index of its suffering always high. Let me tell you this, many Guineans are living like marginals in a geological scandal. It's just outrageous and unacceptable. This humorous book is valuable advice against illegal immigration and gives hope to this disoriented African youth used as toilet paper by crooked politicians. I will not conclude without saying this. The price is this regime. Come and throw the pavement in the pond by having names and peeling the suffering against the physio people. This regime has set up every possible stage so that high-end corruption takes place in the best optimal conditions possible. No worries at all. We have been languishing under this regime of corruption and malversion for 9 years. A regime which continues, despite the approach of its expiration date, to work so that the essentials always remain in danger. This is what our democracy says. Our freedom, our dignity, and our future. Faced with this situation, African leaders have a choice to make, choosing today to be part of either Africa's problems or the solutions of their lives. The ball is in their case. Either way, they're gonna confiscate that bullet if you want to know. The definition of Guinea, go to this book. If you want to know where the grave of the emergence of Guinea is, go to this book. If you want to know the cemeteries of the Guinea franc, of our currencies, of the French language, go to this book if you want to know. To what extent have we abandoned Guinea? Go to this book if you want to see the development of Guinea come back to life, to pinch yourself in this book and in the grave. This book provides us with all the reasons to fight for democratic alternation. In 2020, this book, despite its title, gloomy and twilight, is a journey and hope for all. This book will awaken our patriotic fibers so that they begin to reason together for unity, for the development of Guinea. Because this book lived pills like tolerance, living together, acceptance of the other. Yes, this pamphlet. To this claim, if I may say so, of wanting to create a dream of peace, a dream of happiness for all the communities of Guinea. But for this claim to be a reality, everything will depend on you and me. This book is already available on Amazon, eBay, Fnac. But I would advise you to order directly on our website, www.lapriere.fr, and we will deliver in 10 working days for those who are in Guinea and they want to buy Guinea. The book will be available in late January to early February. What do I want to say to the people? It is not to accept that this regime changes. Our Constitution, third term or first term of the Fourth Republic, will only be an extension of the suffering of this poor man. This regime is made up of people who have already robbed our joy and that of our children. Let us not accept this regime. In 2020, thank you very much.